Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today our video is sponsored by Michaels, and we're going to be using our Cricut machine to etch glass. So we're going to use the Cricut to make stencils and actually make some etched glass pieces. So what are you going to need? You're going to need your Cricut, you're going to need some vinyl, and you're going to need some Armor Etch. So Armor Etch is actually the etching cream that we're going to use, and it etches the glass and actually makes a permanent design in the glass. So we're going to make a couple of olive oil and vinegar bottles. Then I got carried away and also made all of this, so I'll get to show you that as well. So let's get started and take a look at our supplies and how you etch glass with your Cricut machine. The supplies you're going to need are some Armor Etch glass etching cream, as well as Cricut Premium Permanent Vinyl in your Cricut machine for your designs. You may need some transfer tape depending on how complicated your design is. You'll need some gloves to protect your hands from the Armor Etch, as well as some rubbing alcohol from your medicine cabinet to clean your glass. Now we're going to use a variety of glass surfaces, all from Michaels, as well as some masking tape and a few tools. Weeding tools, scraper, paintbrush, scissors, as well as a tub full of water. So now let's head to our Cricut machine and cut our designs from the premium vinyl. So now we want to take our vinyl and cut it to size to fit our Cricut mat. You can just do that with some scissors. Now, a few words about the vinyl. The color is not going to matter because we are using it as a masking, but you do want to look for the permanent because it creates a stronger bond and will be less likely to allow the etching cream to seep under your mask. So here we have a piece cut, and we can just lay this face up on the mat. So you can see the backing paper is against the mat. We'll just smooth that down, make sure it's adhered, and this one's ready to cut. So I'm cutting with my Cricut Explorer, and I've set my dial to vinyl, and I have my design set up in Cricut Design Space. Now we can load our mat by pressing the arrow button. And then we'll just press the C to cut our design. So once your vinyl is done cutting, you can remove the mat and the vinyl itself from your Cricut. And then you can remove the vinyl from the mat by peeling the mat back. Now we're just going to do one project in the video. I'm going to have several others available for you, but I'm just going to cut away the corner here just with a pair of scissors. And we're going to work on this one project. This is actually the stencil for two different bottles. And what we're going to do is kind of the opposite of what you would normally do. So normally you would remove everything and then apply a vinyl label, but in this case we want to remove everywhere where we want etching cream to go. So I'm going to remove this outside piece, and I'll have my letters inside, and they'll be clear, and the box itself in this case will be etched. Now we will also want to remove things like the centers of the letters. I'm just going to repeat that for another bottle. So we're going to remove everything around the outside edge, and then we can remove the centers of any letters. Now it's time to put these masks onto our bottles. So now we're going to add our stencils to our bottles or glass. Now I recommend wearing gloves for this portion as well because the oils from your hands can affect the etching cream. So the first thing we're going to do is clean our glass, and that's where we're going to use our rubbing alcohol. So we'll just place some rubbing alcohol onto a paper towel, and then we're just going to clean the glass wherever we're going to add the stencil itself. Now let's talk a little bit about the type of glass. So you want it to be a glass that isn't hard. So something like a Pyrex dish or something like that might not etch correctly. The reason we use rubbing alcohol is that it cleans really well and it dries really quickly. So it should be dry just within a few minutes, but we're going to allow these to dry completely and then continue with our project. All right, so I mentioned on the stencils that you can use transfer tape if you wish. You don't have to, so you could peel this outside edge and then you could place each of these letters individually. But transfer tape makes our process a little bit easier. You just want to peel back the transfer tape itself. So all transfer tape is a clear tape that helps you transfer vinyl from the backing paper to your surface. So we're just going to use our scraper, go over it on the front, go over it on the back, and then we want to peel the backing paper away, leaving the vinyl on the transfer tape. And then we want to apply this to a clean place on our glass. And once again, we'll just burnish that down. Now your glass may be curved like this, and it is okay to have some gaps around this outer edge. You just want this inner edge, as well as all the letters, to be down really, really well. Then we can remove the transfer tape, leaving the vinyl stuck to the glass. Now we can take this same piece of transfer tape and add it to our second design. And then we'll just repeat the same processes. Now we're just going to burnish these down really well, checking for any bubbles, removing those before we add our etching cream. You want to make sure the letters are down as well as the outside. And then I'm also going to add some masking tape around this outer edge just to make sure that my etching cream, or when we rinse, anything that comes off of there does not get on the glass that is around here. So now that our bottles are masked, it's time to use the Armor Etch itself. First we're going to open the bottle, and then we're going to apply this with a paintbrush. However, we're just going to kind of dab it on. So just dab it over the area. Now I'm going to leave this, I'm going to cover the area completely, and I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. So I want to make sure this is really etched, and then once it's set, I just leave the cream alone. So you don't want to do anything after you set your timer. Just leave it alone, and then we'll come back and we can just rinse it off with some water, remove this stencil, and our project will be complete. So it's that quickly. So the Armor Etch actually etches the surface of the glass, so it is completely permanent. So whatever result we get from this, whether it is good or a failure, it is absolutely permanent. So you do want to make sure you're aware of that. All right, so I think I have my stencil covered, and I'm just kind of lightly going over everything in every direction, just to make sure all of the gaps would be filled in. Okay, my brush is barely touching the surface. All right, so that should mean everything is covered. And now we're just going to set our timer for 5 minutes and wait. And I'll do this bottle while I'm waiting for this bottle to go the full 5 minutes. So 5 minutes has passed for this first bottle. Now I do want to note you can do this in a sink, but just for the video purposes I'm going to do it this way, but you could also do it this way. So I just have a pan of water and I have a cup. So what they ask you to do is to run the etching under running water to remove the cream. So I'm just going to use the cup to pour over the top and start removing the etching cream. Then I'm just going to use a paper towel to remove any excess. And then one dry paper towel to dry everything off. Now I'm going to repeat the rinsing process for the other bottle, and then we'll remove our masking. And now I've removed my gloves because the chemicals have been washed away, and we can just start removing everything. So masking tape, stencil, everything can come off at this point. And hopefully you can see the etching on these, and we'll just need to remove all the letters. One tip is to use your scraper to pick up those edges of those letters. So that is how you etch glass. So it's a super easy project, and it only takes a few minutes, and you get to make this amazing decor for your home or gifts all within a couple minutes, all with some glass etching. So I made the vinegar and oil bottles, which look amazing, and it inspired me to keep going and make some more things for my kitchen. So I kept going, and I also made some spice jars. So a couple different versions of these spice jars for some spices. So if you're looking for like a more permanent solution for your spice jars, this is definitely it. I also made some fun wine glasses. So wine glasses with super fun sayings that are great for gifts or if you're a wine lover yourself. Then I made some larger mason jars that actually are for like my spice rubs and spice seasoning mixes. These would also be great even larger for your canisters on your kitchen counter. So any glass that you can think of, you can actually etch it with permanent designs and make something simply amazing for your home or to give as gifts. So if you enjoyed this video, learned something new, be sure to give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, feel free to drop down in the comment section below and ask those questions. Now, you can make these projects with any Cricut machine. I showed using my Cricut Explore Air 2, but you can make these using your Cricut Maker, your Cricut Explorer, or your Cricut Joy. You can pick up any of the three of those at your local Michael's store. So if you're thinking about jumping into the Cricut family, now's a great time to do so. You'll also want to head on over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We have Cricut videos every week, and you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week with another great Cricut video. Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.